Doctor Who Memories, Spearhead from Space, and the Robots of Death. Hello, and welcome to another video, another installment of this series talking about my earliest memories of Doctor Who. Now, as you can probably guess from the title, I'm not talking about the transmission on television of these two stories. I wasn't even born when Spearhead from Space was televised, so not that old. So obviously I'm going to be talking about the VHS releases for them primarily. Now, if you've seen some of these videos before, you know that I do have very, very hazy memories of early 80s Doctor Who from when I was a little kid, when it was just a show on TV rather than a show that I was actually a fan of. From proper clear memories of when I did become a fan, at this point, all I'd seen was Revenge of the Cybermen, season 24, and Day and Death to the Daleks from the Pertwee era. And it was a few months after that, in early 1987, it was my birthday, and I got two Doctor Who videos because I was a fan. No, it wouldn't be. Oh, that's not true. No, early 1988. Sorry. Early 1988. I'm getting confused. That's what happens when you get old. That I got two VHS tapes for my birthday because obviously I'd been a fan for, around about 15 months at this point. So I knew what I was having for my birthday. And it was the omnibus VHS editions where they cut out the opening and closing credits of the middle episodes, etc., to make it a feature-length movie. And I got Spearhead from Space and the Robots of Death. My previous pairing, the preceding Christmas, of course, had been Day and Death to the Daleks. I'd loved Day, being slightly lukewarm on Death even then. But I mean, you could not ask for a better birthday present than those two stories, Spearhead from Space and Robots of Death. And Spearhead, obviously, it's the first John Pertwee story, the first 70s story, the first colour story. It's the only classic Who story completely shot on film as well. And the Robots of Death is from Tom's third season, Leela's second story. Now, because I'm, OCD light, so to speak, I watched them by order of Doctor, It's the same with like the previous releases when I got the two Pertwee ones. I watched Day first because I already knew that came first in the, I was enough of a nerd. I already knew which stories were followed which even within the same Doctor. So I knew to watch Day first, and it was two different Doctors. I was going to watch the Pertwee first and then the Tom. So Spearhead was only the third John Pertwee story that I had seen, and with any clear recollection of anyway. And I absolutely loved it. Spearhead of Space. I mean, magnificent story, absolute classic. And I think I bought Spearhead from Space possibly more than anything else. Not just any other Doctor Who story, anything else on any media. I think the only thing that probably challenges that is probably Black Christmas, which I bought on DVD in the 2000s, and I bought something like 4 different versions of it on Blu-ray because they kept the first one was okay, the second one was okay, but it was extremely grainy. Then the third one, the picture quality was much better, but the sound was kind of fucked for some reason. It only had like a 5.1 thing, and it left out some of the background noise. And then the most recent one, and probably the very last one I'll get, seems to be like the definitive edition with an even more improved picture quality and a proper soundtrack. That's the only other thing I can think of that I have bought as many freaking times as I have bought Spearhead from Space. Because obviously I got Spearhead for my birthday. Later on I bought the DVD. I bought the special edition DVD, which I'm not sure was much of an improvement because that was the one they fucked around with it, wasn't it? They were messing around with the effects for some reason. I don't know. And of course, I bought the Blu-ray, and I mean the Blu-ray. I've said this before. The Blu-ray Spearhead from Space is phenomenal, and of course the irony is I will no doubt be buying Spearhead all over again in a couple of years when season 7 comes out on Blu-ray. So, even though I've already got that on Blu-ray, and I mean you could. It really makes you wish that the whole of Doctor Who had been shot on film, because it's absolutely phenomenal. I love Spearhead from Space. It's one of those stories. How long is it now since I've seen it? Since I first saw it? 36 years. Jesus. And it's still an absolute masterpiece and an absolute classic, and still one of my absolute favourite stories. And the same kind of goes for Robots of Death, although I haven't bought that as many times. Again, loved Robots of Death at the time. Can't quite remember whether I watched that on my birthday. I think I probably did. I seem to remember that I watched Spearhead from Space kind of like in the afternoon or at lunchtime. So maybe I probably would have watched Robots of Death that evening. I can't actually remember that. It's too long ago. But I loved Robots of Death just as much. Both absolute classics. And of course I subsequently bought the DVD. Was there a special edition of Robots? I don't think I got it. If there was, it was on one of them revisitations, isn't it? I don't think I got that. But obviously I've got season 14 on Blu-ray. So yeah, those are two absolute classics. That was only, I mean, that not counting very, very, very distant memories of Destiny of the Daleks Part 1, probably the repeat, the ending of Part 1, and Logopolis, which was been like when I was 5 or 6 or something. It's very dim and distant memories. Robots was actually only the second Tom that I'd seen after Revenge of the Cybermen. I was kind of lukewarm on Revenge of the Cybermen. I actually kind of like it more now than I did then. But Robots of Death blew me away, as did Spearhead. Just two absolutely first-class stories, and for, again, very, very early days of my fandom. I was like 15 months into it, basically, with very little seen. At this point, I hadn't even, again, excluding like 5-year-old watching the 5 Faces of Doctor Who, I hadn't even seen, Hartnell or Troughton at this point yet either. So, yeah, wonderful starts to my fandom. Great memories, great stuff, great stories. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will talk to you again soon.